made him take his pants off, Doug. I don't care what he had on underneath it. You made him take his pants off.
You can go ahead and do whatever you want with that.
Nobody was in here.
You can do whatever you want with that.
Inappropriate.
And I'm okay with that.
Over
You can
a
do
cell
whatever you
phone.
want.
Well, guys, today's a pretty bad one. We've seen a lot of not so great stuff on TikTok, but usually the repercussions of those videos are limited to it just not being super pleasant to the senses. Today, not so much. Now, usually, I don't really cover a whole lot of stuff that happens in, quote, real life. Obviously, most of the things I talk about are involving real people, but it's all stuff that happens on the internet generally. It's not people disconnected from the internet. Most of the bad things I talk about, even though they are technically happening in real life, they are things people are doing on purpose in order to make content for the internet. But every now and then an isolated incident will happen that I'll somehow hear about, and usually through a combination of what happened being bad enough and seemingly nobody talking about it, I feel inclined to do so myself. For example, a week or two ago when I made that video on that plastic company where multiple employees passed away in the floods of Hurricane Helene, couple that with the awful apology video made by the CEO, I felt like it needed talking about. And today we find ourselves in what is kind of a similar situation. Nothing to do with the hurricane today, but I found myself in a similar situation. The other day, either through Reddit or Twitter, I can't really remember which one, whichever one you think is worse to use, just assume I was using the other one, okay? I came across a video of a mother at her son's school confronting the school's principal for strip searching her child to find a phone. From the TikTok account Twinklies85, who is the mother of the child in this situation, we got a few videos of her talking to the principal and them discussing what happened, which was that Mr. Douglas Ford here thought it would be acceptable to take a teenage boy behind closed doors in his office alone and make him take his pants off to find his cell phone. If you're a person who thinks that something like this is okay, a grown man, a principal who holds power over a child, making them take their pants off for them in their office alone, well then you need to be on a list. And before you ask, no, this is not some he said, she said situation. The principal defends doing this in these videos. He defends the fact and he tries to reason with the mother that this is an okay thing to do. It's batshit insane and it's pretty anger-inducing, which is why I've brought it to you. It's something that I sort of figured more people would be talking about, and honestly, I think if one key aspect of this whole situation was changed, they would be, but we'll get into that later. So let's not waste any more time. Let's begin. Please subscribe.
What's your beef? I mean, you
What do you mean,
called
what's
it-
my beef?
What is your beef? You clearly have some beef.
Insubordination.
Insubordination. You made him take
Not
his
following
pants
the
off last
directions.
week in your office with just you behind closed doors.
Okay,
That's
he had
appropriate.
shorts
I don't
on.
give a fuck.
Okay, so there's two parts to this. This is the first one. Apparently there's like 15 minutes of footage, but not all of it is uploaded. But right off the bat, I find it very interesting how this guy thinks it's some sort of real defense to say he had shorts on. Like, that's not something you would know until you had him take his pants off. I mean, the guy could have been going commando. You don't know that he has shorts on underneath until you see them. Acting like that makes it better whatsoever is insane.
If a girl come in here with shorts on under her skirt, you're allowed to let her take the skirt off?
So
Absolutely
we're
not.
just going to disregard the fact that he's going to blatantly refuse to listen and follow our
Okay, so for some reason this video cuts off there, but it's just kind of crazy to me how adamantly this guy is defending this. Like, why is this the hill you're gonna die on? The hill of I like to make students take their pants off is not exactly one you want to be on. Look, it would be one thing if this kid had drugs or a weapon or something. You commit a crime, you put other people in danger, you forfeit a lot of your privacy. But having your phone out in class, look, I have a friend who's a teacher and they tell me all the time how big of a problem phones in classrooms are right now. I get it. But this is unacceptable. They're not this big of a problem.
Cell phones, that should be a rule then. They're not allowed to have it in the building, period.
Oh, so diapers for everybody.
What does that mean?
So, it
Because
means one
one
person
person-
poops their pants, everybody
No,
gets
that's your
diapers.
rule. That's your fucking rule. They
No.
can't have phones in the
my
school.
rule is you can't have them in the classroom.
So where do you want them?
They can't be visible or used in the classroom.
Bro,
He
come
broke
on
that
now.
rule.
No, you are just
Listen,
tit
I
for
don't
tat.
have this problem with
I'm sure you don't. With
99%
nobody,
of the
right?
kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a person with a functioning brain, I'm going to tell you right now that this guy is 100% talking out of his ass. I don't care if I have no way to prove it. If you're really going to sit here and tell me that 99% of the children that attend your high school don't have their phones out in class ever, you're full of shit. I mean, come on, let's be real. Everybody in this country has their phone up their ass 24/7. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people do. Phones have been banned in schools or heavily regulated since the 90s. This is not not a new problem, and it's probably the worst it's ever been right now. A lot of schools are starting to ban phones entirely again. You can't even bring them onto campus. For this guy to say that only 1% of his students are using their phones during school time, if you have an ounce of critical thinking skills, you know that's horseshit.
Nobody.
99%.
I'm sure.
That 0 is nobody.
Now you're just picking. Now what did he do today? He was sitting with his brother in the lunchroom, and you tell him he's got an assigned seat? Does everybody have an assigned seat?
Yes.
Everybody in this school has assigned seat.
Does.
This whole school has assigned seats.
I tell them towards a few weeks into school, these are your seats. We'll change it the semester. That's always been what I've done.
Every single person. I've never heard that.
Because here's what happens. They'll take somebody's seat that, well, I sit there.
It's an
now
open
it becomes a
lunchroom.
problem.
Okay, so not only are assigned seats at lunch for high schoolers the dumbest shit I've ever heard of, if you go through the comment section of this video, a bunch of parents and a bunch of students at the school are chiming in saying they've never heard of assigned seats and that they don't have assigned seats. And usually I would be like, take all of that with a grain of salt, and I'll still say that, but like I said, nobody's really talking about this yet. There's only a couple hundred comments on this video. It seems to have not really left the sphere of the people directly involved in this or the people who go to this school, which makes me think that maybe these comments are a bit more trustworthy.
It's an open lunchroom.
But when I have repeated issues with a table because they like to play with food.
Oh, diapers for everybody then?
Well, it's diapers for that
yeah,
table.
Okay,
sure.
Yeah. Just you're picking and fucking choosing is what you're doing.
And your son is half the problem, probably.
I'm sure.
Okay, so a few things here. It really seems like this guy's kind of making up the rules as it goes. He's saying that it's unacceptable for everybody to not be allowed to have their phones and be diapers for everybody. But for some reason, when it comes to the lunchroom, that's a perfectly fine solution. And then saying that this kid is half the problem. Look, that might be the case. This kid might be a troublemaker. Who knows? I don't know the situation on that. Doesn't change the fact that no matter how bad a student is, as a principal, you don't strip search them for an iPhone. Nothing changes that.
He will be the whole fucking problem, and I will be your whole problem too, Doug. Because this is bullshit.
Bring it on, I don't care.
Because now you're just picking at him. Now he got you in trouble for fucking making him take his pants off, and now this week, now we have another issue.
I got in trouble?
Oh, you
what did I get in
will.
trouble for?
You will. I promise you, you will.
Okay.
You are not allowed to do that as a school official.
Told me
I
got in
asked the
trouble.
police.
Yeah.
If they could do that, they said they cannot. So you absolutely cannot either.
Okay.
You know that. As a fucking parent,
Are
you
guys
should
gonna
never.
follow the rules here or not?
What a fucking weirdo. Acts like he should have zero repercussions for making a kid take his pants off. Saying, oh, I'm in trouble? Really? I'm gonna get in trouble? I mean, holy shit. Yeah, you likely will, dude. Stuff takes time. And then saying, are you gonna follow the rules or not? Really just tripling down that this is somehow an appropriate punishment. I'll tell you what, it takes a very strange man to do something like this. I actually looked through the Delta High School handbook, and there's no mention of strip search if you get caught with an iPhone. This is something this guy wanted to do. Maybe I'm just hanging out with the right people, but I don't know anybody who would willingly strip search a teenager alone in an office. This is not something this guy had to do. He wanted to.
Clearly not.
If not,
Clearly,
what are
your
we gonna do?
rules are
What's the
for
solution
your
here?
rules are picking and choosing for who you want the rules to
That's
work
not
for.
true.
That is absolutely true.
That's not true.
Then I'm gonna go in there and ask every single classmate, do you have an assigned seat
You
at lunch?
shouldn't leave the office.
Do you
I
have
would
an
not
assigned seat at
recommend
lunch?
that.
Are they all gonna say they do?
They're gonna say, yeah, I sit at the same seat. I don't bounce around the
Dude,
entire.
you're just making fucking. I don't care. That's not.
follow
He's
the
not
rules.
doing anything wrong by bouncing seats.
You can follow the rules.
He's
here or
not doing anything wrong
Okay.
by
So let's go
going
back
and
to the
sitting
cell
with his
phone
brother.
So honestly, based off what I'm hearing, it really does sound like the whole assigned seat thing is bullshit. When she says she's gonna go ask students if they have assigned seats, he says, yeah, they're gonna say they don't bounce around, which is not the same thing as having an assigned seat. And then when she says he's not doing anything wrong, he doesn't say, yes, he is. They have assigned seats and he wasn't in his. He says, okay, then let's go back to the phone thing, which to me sounds like him saying, okay, well, he wasn't breaking the rules then, but he was here. That's just the way I'm interpreting it. Sounds kind of weird though.
When I need to get control of a disruptive table at lunch, I am within every right.
Was
to
he
say,
being disruptive today?
He's got a pattern.
Was he being disruptive
Hold on,
today?
Yes, because
No,
he
he
sits on
wasn't.
his assigned seat.
You just are picking and choosing because
That's
of
not true.
diapers of somebody else's shit in the past. Because he went and sat at a table, nothing was going on, but since something happened in the
Listen.
past, now you're going to come up and say,
Are
hey,
you
you
guys
can't
gonna
sit
follow
there.
the rules or not?
I don't go to school here. I don't have to follow any
Well, as a
rules
parent,
that you
should
have.
reinforce them.
I do reinforce rules, but when you're acting funny and having him take his pants off, then the next week when I come into school, I really don't have any respect for you anymore.
Okay.
At all.
That is fine. We don't have to have respect for each other.
It is absolutely batshit insane to me that this guy is sitting here genuinely defending the fact that he made a kid take his pants off. I mean, that's insane. I used to volunteer coach. I've worked at schools before. I've worked with teachers. This is insane behavior. There is no circumstance where this is acceptable. If you are in a situation where a strip search is actually necessary, the police should be there and they should be the ones conducting it, not you as a principal. There's something wrong with this guy.
I just want to say, how does that change the violation? There was a violation. Can we acknowledge that he had his cell phone?
He had his cell phone, right?
Okay.
Right.
So I want to.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
Correct.
And if he would have said that and called me, and then the pants thing wouldn't have happened, no problem. He would have served that detention.
So because something happened
during it,
and
I
a manner which
absolutely
that
apologize
erases
for that.
the violation.
that did in my eyes.
If I get
yes.
caught for speeding, and then the cop did whatever.
The cop-
that changes
cop-
the fact that I broke the law.
Yeah, absolutely it does. That happens literally all the time. Evidence is obtained illegally, police protocols not followed, things get thrown out the window all the time when certain standards are not met. Yeah, that happens literally every day, man. What a terrible analogy. Also, what a terrible thing to try and say to justify the fact that this grown man made a teenage boy take his pants off. Why are you guys so comfortable moving past that? Like, seriously, that's crazy. But that's where the videos end. I'm sure this TikTok account will be uploading more as the days come if you guys want to go check that out. I'm really surprised that I haven't heard about this anywhere else, and I honestly think that it might be because of who this happened to. I saw a lot of comments mentioning this on these videos. The mother seems to have a similar sentiment. I think because this happened to a boy, a lot of people don't care. If this was a teenage girl, this would be shared by every Facebook and Twitter account imaginable. And for good reason. That's how it should be when this happens to any child. This is completely unacceptable, and I really hope the higher-ups in this school district do something. Otherwise, the children who go to this school are at risk. This is not somebody who should be around children. Well, guys, what do you think? If you were the parent in this situation, how do you think you would react? If this happened to me when I was in school, it would have been a shitstorm of unimaginable proportions. I can't imagine that there's a single parent on the planet who would be okay with this. And the fact that these two guys are talking about it like it's business as usual is really disturbing. The way they were talking and the way they were acting like there was absolutely nothing that could be done to them for doing this, that's some shit that needs to be looked into. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and walk on over to that subscribe button and touch it. It's free. It won't cost you anything. But for now, that's all I have for you today. Bye.